I'm Lisa Pickering, and welcome to CITV's Press Talk. Here's the most recent news and information from the government of Bermuda.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the media, and thank you for coming to the Cabinet Office today. As you would have heard me say prior to the election, and to quote from the Progressive Labor Party's platform, in order for Bermuda to succeed, we need to return our economy to a path of balanced growth that creates jobs, provides rising incomes, and assists our budget challenges. It is this government's belief that a better environment must be created in which Bermudian businesses can thrive, opportunities for Bermudians can be created, and in which capable, qualified Bermudians can earn opportunities to work, train, and succeed at every level. We will ensure fair Bermuda by enacting policies to grow Bermuda's economy, end quote. One of the initiatives we identified to accomplish in the first 100 days of becoming government was to form a Bermuda First Advisory Group consisting of local and international business and community leaders to develop a long-term economic and social plan for Bermuda. The Bermuda First concept is not a new idea. It was created by the PLP government in 2009, and at that time was co-chaired by the Premier and the Leader of the Opposition. The committee was formed as a result of the global financial crisis and economic downturn of 2008. The creation of a new Bermuda First think tank is a promise that has been kept by this government. No politicians will, no politicians will serve on the committee. And the objective for creating this non-political entity is so that the ladies and gentlemen behind me can develop an economic and social blueprint that will shape Bermuda for the next 10 to 15 years. For our island to be successful, we must have a single vision, and we must all be moving in the same direction. As stated in this year's speech from the throne, the Bermuda First think tank will draw on the intellectual capital of local and international business and community leaders. Every section of our community will be involved to ensure that the input is given so that we can move together as a country. The committee will look for new opportunities for Bermuda to strengthen its economic base, identify new and emerging industries and technology for the island to build on, and assist us in developing a balanced long-term economic growth that keeps in mind of the key need to develop our island socially as well as economically. I have asked Mr. Philip Butterfield to chair the Bermuda First think tank. Mr. Butterfield served as chairman of HSBC Bank Bermuda from May 2012 to December 2015. Prior to that, he held the position of CEO of the bank for 8 years. He has also served as chairman of the Bermuda Hospitals Charitable Trust, was a member of the steering committee for the original Bermuda First, president of the Bermuda Health Foundation, chairman of the advisory committee for the Bermuda Environmental Alliance, chairman of the Victor Scott School Alumni Association, a board member of Johns Hopkins Medicine, and the American Classical Orchestra. Phil brings to the role a global financial perspective together with a deep understanding of Bermuda's political, financial, and social makeup. I am grateful that he has agreed to take on this important position and lead the outstanding team who will create the plan that will shape Bermuda and move us forward. In addition to Mr. Butterfield, members of the Bermuda First Committee who have agreed to serve, some of whom are here today, are Sir John Swan, John White, Gil Tucker, Dr. Duranda Green, Chris Ferbert, Darren Johnston, Patrick Tannick, Gita Blakeney-Saltis, Michael Collins, Andy Burrows, Wendy McLeod, Scott Pierman, and Michael Branco. There will be a few other members that will be announced in due course. I will now invite Mr. Phil Butterfield to say a few words. Phil?
Thank you, Mr. Premier. First, I'd like to say thanks for providing the opportunity for service. I and my colleagues see this as an opportunity for us to give back, to provide a plan that is not only broad in its vision, but also practical. We know that we need to have a blueprint for how we move this wonderful island of ours forward. So our intent is to be inclusive. Our intent is to be collaborative. And we welcome input from all sectors of the community, and we will see to it that that takes place. Our desire over the next 6 to 8 weeks is to get organized. We think that there's lots of reading and research that we need to undertake. We will use a combination of local resources and external resources. But the objective is to work together, work hard, but also to have a little fun, because life is not as serious as many of us would have you think. We know that we need to get this task done, but it'll be done with quality and with integrity, and we look forward to that opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Premier.
Thank you. Thank you, Phil. And as Phil had mentioned, I want to thank those who have offered to serve on the board of Bermuda First. They are volunteering their time and their expertise as we work together to build that fairer and better Bermuda that we promise. The committee will begin work immediately, developing their mandate and identifying their methodology. The committee will be giving an operating budget together with office space and administrative support. And I anticipate receiving an initial report of the committee by the middle of next year. As I mentioned, the Bermuda First Think Tank is an initiative that was identified in this government's 100-day pledge that we made in our platform. And for those of you who have been keeping count, you will know that tomorrow, the 27th of October, is the 100-day mark of which we have been in office. On the 3rd of November, when Parliament reconvenes, I will provide Parliament with an update on the success of the 21 initiatives that were identified in our 100-day pledges. We made a commitment to focus on priorities to create a better and fair Bermuda, and we are doing just that. After my report to the House, I will speak directly to the people of Bermuda, to whom we are accountable as we take our show on the road. Thank you, and I welcome any questions that you may have.
Hi, Mr. Premier.
Hi, Jasmine.
Congratulations on the new committee, the advisory group. Do you have a tally of the costs of running the group?
A tally of the costs of running the group, no, we do not have yet. As Mr. Butterfield said, they're going to be figuring out their work plan of action. In the conversation that Mr. Butterfield and I had, he said that, and he has a little bit of experience in raising money, he said that he's actually going to be reaching out to members of the private sector as well to support this initiative and to provide funding for that. So we'll certainly have an update when we figure out precisely the needs. We'll put it together, but I'm not expecting it to be overly onerous in any way, shape, or form.
And in the interest of transparency, I know that's something the government
Absolutely.
likes to champion. How will you ensure that the group's private interests are kept separate than any potential investments that come out of this advisory group?
Thank you. I mean, that's an excellent question. It is not expected that there's going to be investment that will come out of this advisory group. What the result of this will be similar to the plan of which was done the first time around, which will lay out the opportunities for Bermuda as a collective country as a whole. We're not going to be engaged. The committee, for instance, is not going to have money to invest and otherwise. So they're going to be putting forward, and collectively, after doing research and engaging community stakeholders, what are the best ways for Bermuda to go forward given the global realities and the opportunities for economic advancement. And additional points, because I don't want to focus on the economy that much, because remember, we said an economic and social plan, and that's why there are persons who are not just economy-based, but also social-based, because we have to make sure we are tackling the social challenges as well. So whether that's education, whether those are things inside the third sector, making sure that we have those challenges there, those are the things that we want the committee to be discussing and to present a report on as well.
Mr. Premier.
Yes, Ms. Herbert.
How many members did you name to them?
Now you got me. I knew before I came, I said I should count. 13.
Because I was wondering why you felt it was necessary to have such a large committee.
Well, it's not that large a committee when we consider the last time around it was 69 people. So I can assure you that we will not have that many as it was the last time around. But what we wanted to ensure is that we had a broad cross-section of skills. So whether those be people that are from the technology side, the infrastructure side, education, third sector, trade unions, international business, local business, insurance, we wanted to make sure that it was a broad representation so that we had the full grasp of the challenges that we have to face.
Okay, and what happened to the last report? Maybe Mr. Butterfield can answer.
Well, the last report put forward a number of proposals, and I think that it's the very thing to understand that the last report, some of the proposals of which were put forward were actually used. The last report had made sure that Bermuda needs to do the work to advance our position as a center for insurance-linked securities, and now Bermuda is the global, undisputed global leader inside of that space. So I think that report, of course, was, I want to say, 7 to 8 years ago. Now it's certainly time to look at the new challenges that the country has faced and to make sure that we can have a plan that we can collectively advance and follow up on those initiatives. That's Jonathan.
Mr. Premier and for Mr. Butterfield, maybe, I mean, you've just announced the committee, but are there any, what would be the top priority going forward? Any top
You
priority?
want to take that one?
Well, there are lots of priorities. I don't want to, at this point in the process, tell you what my thoughts are with regard to this undertaking, because my colleagues and I have yet to have our, as I like to describe it, our come to Jesus conversation. But more importantly, as to Ms. Ferbert's question about the number of people, I think it's terribly important to have a broad cross-section of local voices and experts that allow us, when we do get to the stage of socializing our findings, that we have a broad cross-section of persons who can represent these issues to the rest of our colleagues. So that's one of the reasons that we think an organization of 16 or 20 people makes sense. But we're going to be working in teams, and we're going to be working cohesively to produce a very holistic, interdependent plan. So that's the objective. And as it relates to the prior report, the first order of business is, I'm from the old school, so I need to understand where we are. I need to do the work with my colleagues to determine where we're going to be, and then we'll do the real work of figuring out how to get there. So in the where we are status, we will look at the prior report, and the Premier articulated, a bit of the work that has been done. But I think there are some other elements of that first report that provide leverage points for us to explore further.
I have one more question.
Yes.
Do you intend to wait until next year, or will you be coming to the public before?
I don't think we'd come to the public before next year. I think we need, get ourselves organized, and most of these folks have day jobs. I'm the retired person, allegedly. My experience is in the last sort of 6 to 8 weeks of the year, it's impossible to get share of mind. So we'll use that time internally to get structured and organized and then hit the ground running in the new year.
Mr. Premier, were there any individuals you approached that declined to join the group?
There may have been, but I'm certainly not going to share that at this point in time. The fact is that I want to thank the persons who did, because understand that, as you will recognize, that we have some of the finest minds in, whether it be business, whether it be in the social services sector, education, leaders of trade unions and otherwise, who have volunteered their time to work to make sure that as a country we can work collectively to advance Bermuda. So I want to thank the ones who have agreed to make that sacrifice and to work together. Any more questions? Mr. Johnson.
There's no mention of the environment in this exercise. Is there a reason for that?
I wouldn't say that there is no mention of the environment in this exercise. I would say that, as we have noted and stated, that when we said economic and social development plan, I think that captures the environment as well.
Are there any plans to revive the sustainable development mechanism roundtable?
As I understand it, that is currently being done under the Cabinet Office as part of the recommendations of the SAGE Commission in streamlining government, and I think that those functions are being served well where they are.
Unrelated matter. The question of the whole average data was government ever made aware that this has occurred when it did?
What I'm going to do is I'm only going to refer to the statement in which the government issued earlier that said that the government of Bermuda notes reports concerning aspects of the operations of Appleby Global in various jurisdictions, including Bermuda. Bermuda is a recognized leader in international tax compliance and tax transparency, and in keeping with our international obligations, relevant authorities in Bermuda will review any matters raised. As you can understand, Mr. Johnson, this is a very sensitive issue right now, and the government is working to ensure that we are protecting Bermuda's reputation at this very delicate time.
Should we take it from that statement that the government was not aware?
I don't think that you should take. I don't think you should take that from that statement at all, Mr. Johnson. What I'm going to say is that there are a few moving parts, and when the time comes to disclose everything, then we will disclose. But the only thing of which we know at this present point in time is that Appleby may have suffered a data breach, and what I am not going to disclose publicly all those various items at this time.
Are there discussions with Appleby now?
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have a related question.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
The airport and ACOM side, Chinese, can you comment on that?
Absolutely. I don't know if the statement has been issued yet by the government, but the following statement will be issued, and it goes as follows: that the change in ownership at ACON will not have an impact on the construction of a new terminal at the airport. The review of the former government's privatization agreement with ACON is continuing, and our aim remains to ensure that Bermuda's taxpayers get a better deal.
You've been watching Press Talk right here on CITV. Join us next time for your government's news and information. I'm Lisa Pickering.